Have you ever looked someone directly in the eye and wondered what it would take to make them do anything you wanted? No force, no aggression, just silence, suggestion, presence. Have you ever sat quietly in a room full of people and realized how easy it would be to guide their thoughts with the right words, the right smile, the right manipulation cloaked in empathy? This isn't science fiction. This isn't witchcraft or mysticism. This is power, and not the kind chained to position, money, or luck. I'm talking about the purest, most unnerving form of power, the power over other human beings. And if there was ever a man who understood this better than anyone else, it was Niccolò Machiavelli. But this story isn't about history, it's about you. Because as we unlock the world of Machiavelli's influence, the dark, seductive art of manipulation, you'll begin to see echoes in your own life. Echoes in relationships, in jobs, in friendships, in the way someone made you feel insecure and then comforted you just enough to keep you loyal. You'll realize you thought you were in control, but maybe, just maybe, you've always been the one dancing on someone else's invisible strings. Machiavelli didn't invent manipulation, he revealed it. He took the masks off human behavior and exposed what leaders, lovers, politicians, and enemies have always done. He didn't apologize for it. He didn't sugarcoat it. That's why his book, The Prince, has been banned, burned, denounced, and studied by the most powerful individuals in history. Because buried in his words is a dangerous truth. People are far easier to control than they'd like to think. And the first rule of control: never let them know they're being controlled. What makes people predictable is emotion. Machiavelli knew that logic rarely drives decisions. People are not ruled by facts. They're ruled by fear, love, insecurity, status, desire. And the person who understands this, who really understands it, not just intellectually but strategically, can walk into any room and own it. Not by shouting, not by bragging, but by tapping into those hidden drives beneath the surface. You don't need to argue to win. You only need to see where the cracks are, the little weaknesses in someone's identity, and speak directly into those fractures with confidence, precision, and purpose. That's where control begins. Real manipulation is silent, invisible. It doesn't feel like manipulation. In fact, the most brilliant form of control makes the target feel free. They'll laugh with you, agree with you, thank you, swear it was their idea. That's the genius of it. Because the deeper you go, the more you realize people are desperate to belong, desperate to feel seen, desperate to be safe. And the manipulator doesn't force their will. They offer those needs just enough to keep the leash on without pressure. That's why manipulation often feels like affection, why we confuse control for love, and why the most controlling people can be the ones we're closest to. Machiavelli understood this long before social media, long before clickbait political campaigns, psychological marketing, and algorithmic influence. He saw clearly centuries ago that humans crave reassurance more than truth, that if you can offer people clarity in the fog, even if it's a lie, they'll follow you into the darkness, relieved that someone finally seems certain. People don't want leaders, they want saviors. They want someone to tell them who the enemy is, who they should be, and why everything is going to be okay. You don't have to be right. You just have to be convincing. And here's the cold truth Machiavelli laid bare. It is better to be feared than loved if one cannot be both. Sounds cruel, doesn't it? But if you're honest with yourself, deep down you already know it's true. Love is fragile. Love fades. Love forgives. But fear sticks. Fear controls. Fear makes people second-guess rebellion, stutter before betrayal, hesitate before they leave you. If you want loyalty without conditions, Machiavelli says harness fear, not rage, not abuse, but respect so sharp it cuts the thought of disobedience at the root. Still, fear alone isn't enough. The most effective control is built on a foundation of admiration and subtle intimidation. You must seem fair, but a little dangerous, gentle, but capable of cruelty. People follow those they cannot fully predict. If you're too nice, you'll be used. If you're too cruel, you'll be overthrown. But if you walk the edge, if they don't know which version of you they'll get, they remain on guard. And that's exactly where you want them. Unbalanced, cautious, dependent. The manipulator never shows all their cards. They compliment others, but never excessively. They express emotion only when it serves a purpose. Every move is calculated, every silence is loaded. You're not reacting, you're orchestrating. When someone insults you publicly, you don't argue. You laugh, you dismiss, you maintain mystery. Because in the game of control, certainty is a weakness. The moment people can predict your response, you've already given them power. So how do you begin wielding Machiavellian influence in real life? You start small. Master presence. Presence is the invisible field around you that makes people self-conscious the moment you're near. It's body language, voice tone, eye contact, silence. Speak less. Think more. When you do speak, ensure every word carries intention. People listen more when you talk less. Because silence makes people wonder what you're thinking. And wondering creates power imbalance. You're staying calm in control. They're guessing, trying to keep up, eager to fill the awkward gaps. That's when you get inside their head. Next, observe what people fear. Everyone wears a mask, but behind every confident smile, there's insecurity. Behind every rebel, trauma. Behind every ego, abandonment. Learn people. Study them. Mirror them without obvious mimicry. Make them feel understood. Once someone believes you truly get them, they instinctively lower their guard. That's when you plant suggestions. Not commands, suggestions. Phrases like, "You probably already thought of this," or "This might be crazy, but..." These frames allow your ideas to enter softly, almost subconsciously. And because the idea didn't feel imposed, they accept it. Sometimes they even believe it was theirs. That's manipulation at its highest form. Not control through domination, but through influence that feels like self-discovery. You'll also understand status. People are obsessed with hierarchy, even when they pretend not to be. Spark admiration by creating contrast. Don't talk constantly about yourself. Let others do it for you. Hold details back. Let mystery create scarcity. Occasionally contradict expectations. Not to confuse, but to command fascination. One day warm, one day reserved. One day playful, the next stoic. The unpredictability keeps them hooked. They want consistency, but they respect complexity more. Remember, the longer they try to figure you out, the tighter your grip gets. On an emotional level, people are rarely loyal to logic. They're loyal to how you make them feel about themselves. Tell someone they're essential. Frame them as unique, and they'll walk through fire for you. Not because they love you, but because they love who they believe they're becoming beside you. Building this illusion is the key to emotional control. Show someone a mirror of their potential, and make yourself the reflection. Is it dark? Yes, but reflect. Haven't we all been victims of this before? Haven't we followed people who made us feel special until they didn't? Haven't we stayed in friendships or relationships where we only felt powerful through association? We romanticize control when it's dressed as security. That's why some of the most brilliant manipulators are adored, not feared. You think they're lifting you up until they disappear and you're left empty, wondering why you feel like you're missing something you never truly had. There's a reason Machiavelli's name became synonymous with cunning. But was he evil? Or was he simply honest about human nature? It's easy to demonize manipulation, but ask yourself, are you really free from it? When you're negotiating a raise, flirting at a bar, calming down an angry friend, even parenting a child, aren't you subtly shaping behavior? Strategically choosing words, masking tone, bending truth? So where do we draw the line? The truth is, the line isn't clear. Because the difference between influence and manipulation is often just intent. Are you guiding others to help them or to control them? Are you inspiring it or rewriting their identity to fit your needs. Machiavelli never cared. He simply said, "This is how people are. Morality comes second to survival. If you want to be liked, speak to the ego. If you want to be trusted, show humility, but never too much. And if you want to be followed, promise safety, but always remain just out of reach." That's the formula. Don't chase. Retreat occasionally to create longing. Don't explain more than necessary. Mystery makes people lean in. Don't dominate, guide, and don't beg for loyalty. Make them feel disloyal by even considering leaving you. All this leads to the most haunting conclusion of all. The most powerful control doesn't look like control at all. It looks like love. It looks like admiration. It looks like freedom. But secretly, it strips the other person of their ability to think without you. And when you reach that level of influence, there's only one question to ask yourself. Do you really want this? Because to control others, you must also disconnect from part of your humanity. You cannot need what they need. You must rise above emotion to observe it clinically. That's the weight Machiavelli never tells you about. The existential risk. Because once you learn to pull strings, it's hard to stop. People become puzzles. Situations become games. And worst of all, you lose the ability to believe others aren't doing the same to you. So now, the moment of truth. Have you been manipulated? Or have you been the manipulator all along? Are you the ruler of your world or just another subject in someone else's? If this made your chest tighten, maybe that's the truth waking up inside you. You see, Machiavelli didn't write The Prince to create monsters. He wrote it so that you could see them, understand them, recognize them, and maybe become a little smarter in the process. But now that you have this knowledge, what will you do with it? Will you put it down, afraid of what it turns you into? Or will you sharpen it and quietly begin to rule? Are you in control? Or is that just what someone wants you to believe? Because in the end, it's not about who speaks the loudest or who craves attention the most. It's about who understands the game being played in silence. Power isn't always loud. It doesn't announce itself. True influence doesn't scream. It whispers, softly and subtly, into the cracks of people's insecurities and desires. The world doesn't reward the most moral. It rewards the most strategic. History remembers the ones who moved with purpose, not permission. The ones who didn't just adapt to the rules of the game, they rewrote them. So now the real question you must ask yourself is not whether you can play the game, but whether you dare to truly win it. And if you've made it this far, really stayed through till this moment, then I believe you saw something, felt something that broke through the noise. If so, I want to know who truly understood. Leave the phrase "influence wears a smile" in the comments below, so I know who's listening with more than ears, who's thinking beyond the surface. If this video made you feel unsettled, if it pulled back the curtain on something you've always suspected but couldn't quite describe, then let that awareness grow. Like this video, subscribe, because this chilling awakening is only the beginning. There's so much more beneath what you think you know. And before this ends, remember one final truth. The most powerful person in the room is never the one speaking the most. It's the one everyone else is unconsciously watching, waiting, reacting to. So don't just be another piece in someone else's strategy. Become the mind that writes the moves.